And welcome back to the Seriously Don't Do That podcast. Today, I am delighted to have a guest with us. We actually go to the same barber, as you can see. We both have very pretty heads. But beyond that, Chris, why don't you tell the audience what you do, how you help people, and introduce yourself.
You bet, Dan. Thanks for having me on. So I am Chris Luiz. I run Scout InsurTech. And what we do is help the insurance industry better engage with technology. And we do that in a whole bunch of different ways, amongst them being running a free technology accelerator, helping U.S. or non-U.S. based companies land here effectively, and providing externalized strategy and innovation support to some of the largest organizations in our industry.
Great. Well, Chris, certainly appreciate you joining today. And it's great to do another series on insurance. It's been a little bit since we've done that. I think the last time we did that, we had a mutual friend of ours, Josh Hollander, on. So it's he doesn't have as pretty a head as we do, though. So I've got great expectations for today's session. So today's session, we're going to talk about seriously don't build your U.S. go-to-market around spend instead of relationships. And so we came up, as usual, with a couple of questions for our guests. And so, Chris, we're going to start with kind of a core of what we talked about even in our pre-show and even in previous conversations. But you talk to hundreds of insurtech companies every year. What's the most common way you see founders get U.S. market entry wrong?
Yeah, you bet. And so not all of the founders that I'm speaking to are entering the U.S. market, but I think this is exacerbated by being not within market. And the framing that I like to use is that getting into the insurance market in the U.S. is not a marketing problem. And that's fundamentally the issue that I want to talk about a lot today. You can't just spend dollars and get in. That's not how it works. It is a credibility problem. And building credibility is not done by writing a single check or even a number of checks over a period of time. It is done by putting in just different types of work. And so there's a couple of pieces that layer underneath here that I think about, but that's fundamentally what it is. Like when you get into the market, and we'll talk about this as we go on today, but some things that I see happening is validation with the wrong people, right? So marketing goes out, what happens? People that take meetings reach out to you, or you're talking to people that are paid to take meetings. And I love these folks. These are innovation folks. These are venture folks. And their job is to talk to you. They're pleasant, they're curious, they don't buy, right? And you might have 40 conversations that are all good and you get no no's and you feel like you have product market fit, but you also don't get any yeses because none of those people are cutting checks and making those decisions. They're influencers, sure, but you need to be aware of that. And then more specifically, when entering the US market from outside of the market is that folks want to map their exact buyer profile onto the US market. And the reality is, particularly if you're selling into large insurance carriers, you don't have a buyer, you have like 9 people with veto power. And across those 9 people, you need to make sure they're all happy. You have a champion and perhaps a buyer that's going to use your technology. You've got security, you've got procurement, you've got legal, you've got data governance. Now you have model governance, and you need to be able to answer all of these questions. And everyone can kill it. And sometimes that's invisible to you, how that's happening or why it's happening. And a lot of times the deal being killed is it just goes on forever and ever and ever, and it doesn't quite ever resolve. And another one, I think the other one I see like a lot is that entering the country, this is also for those that are coming from a foreign country, or sometimes also from a different vertical. So it's often financial services more broadly or medical or something like that, is landing and decided to spend a bunch of money before you have a champion, somebody that actually said, yes, this is something that I'm interested in actually using and I can see us paying for it. Not a POC so much. I mean, that would be great, but at least some validation that a buyer says, I want what you have. And that's something that we would prioritize over the short term. And, the takeaway here, I mean, broadly, and I think you know this very well, and some folks don't, is that nothing at a U.S. insurance carrier or large brokerage or large agency network is bought because it's good. It's bought because somebody decided that it was worth their time to carry it through the process to get it into the company. And it doesn't mean it's not good or it is good. It's funny to say it's sometimes not correlated, not well correlated, but it's about their ability to get it through and decide that they'll put their job on the line, at least over the short term, to bring in your product. And that's really, it's really important to understand. And this, Dan, and I just said this. So I run a conference. Like I have vested interest in some things. But it should be really clear that you can't just come and spend and think that's going to get you over to where you need to be.
Boy, you bring out, I feel like I could spend the whole episode just on everything that you said there, but I do want to maybe delve into one or two things.
Yeah.
It was interesting when you said about, well, I'm going to start with the last thing you said, because we always jokingly say that marketing is very easy. You've got to find somebody that has a unique problem, challenge, or pain that you can solve, that will write a check for it in the next 12 to 18 months. We said it's just simply those 5 things. And people go, oh, yeah. And then they go, oh, yeah. And I think that I'd love to hear you talk just maybe a little bit more about having the right kind of conversations, and maybe give us an example of somebody that did it the right way and maybe somebody that did it the wrong way. You don't have to name any customers, but I'd be interested to hear just from a practical standpoint, right way, wrong way on that.
Sure. And if you're watching right now, you see I just put on a hat. Karnina and Steven, thank you. I always tell folks that if they send me their swag, I'll wear it on something. And I was talking to them the day and I put the hat on and I was like, oh, we're not recording this. So slight aside, but yeah, from a doing it the right way and doing it the wrong way perspective. And, the right way that I see is specifically U.S. market entry. Somebody comes over, an executive knows a product very well. They come and meet people, have a lot of one-on-one conversations, whether that's, or maybe it could be more than one-on-one, right? These could be dinners, these could be smaller events, but this is about shaking hands, drinking coffee, drinking beer, having meals. This is about building credibility across the people that are going to be buying your product, and not so much like write me a check, or is this time, or is this ready? This is very much, we're doing this thing. It's like landing in this other place that we are, and we want to bring it here. Do you think there's interest? Like, how do you feel about that? Would you support it? Asking those questions, this seems to me like really straightforward product research, right? But it doesn't always get done. And as a counterpoint, it's the buy a booth, send 4 people over, spend the money, get the puppies, badges, take it home, hope that those convert. And the math doesn't work out really very well with those. And there's a number of reasons that we get into later, but that's just not the best way to do it. And it's expensive too. And it ends up taking the same amount of time or longer, because eventually you have to reset and build that credibility in those relationships anyway. You don't get around it.
This week, my guest watched founders buy conference booths before they actually had a champion. I've watched a company burn $600,000 a month on payroll walking into the U.S. market. Seriously, don't do that. 25 years, IBM to copy your sales to this. That's what I bring to your stage or to your guest chair. Scars, not theory. Your people leave knowing what to stop doing Monday morning. Book me at seriouslydon'tdothat.com. Great points there, Chris. And talk about how important that is for the actual founder to do that, because we see a lot, with clients that we talk with that go, oh, well, I just want to have somebody else go do that for me. How important is it that the founder does that?
It's about incentives. Everything's about incentives, according to Charlie Munger. And I will agree with him here in that a salesperson is incentivized to sell something and to get there as fast as possible. And often they're on a tight timeline and they were hired to do a thing, and there's a quarter end coming up and all this, right? So I highly recommend that the founder does this. It should probably be the CEO. It should be somebody who's a people person to come in and actually have a conversation and show passion in the problem they're solving, not in just the thing that they're selling. And say, like, we're really focused on solving this because we think it's a problem because of XYZ, and we think we can solve it this way. And this is what we're seeing in our home market. It is very hard for a non-founding go-to-market person to do that in such a way that seems authentic, because underlying they are trying to sell something. And, we're all in sales to some extent, right? That's what it is. And that's okay. But it's not the same incentive. That founder is incentivized to find the way to solve the problem that they fell in love with, that created the company to solve. Salesperson, not so much. I see this as working effectively too. So I want to say, like, it's not always the founder. If you have a head of partnerships type of person that is really very, very close to the product, that has done this for some time, but hiring junior sales guy or giving them that title of head of partnerships and setting them off into the world to talk to CEOs is not nice to him, and it's not going to work for you.
Yeah. Well, yeah, that would be definitely a seriously don't do that, and one that I've actually lived out in person earlier on in my career. So I definitely hear what you're saying there. I think it's also important, and you kind of reference this, is that also can help drive the product too, right? Because when you're having these conversations, you're going to hear maybe a different angle on the pain, problem, or challenge, or you're going to, it helps you not only in your sales side and your marketing side, but also your product fit.
Mm-hmm.
We've seen people that come back from those conversations and make some adjustments. So you talked a little bit about this, I think, in the answer to the first question, but I think one frustration that I have, and it's not a frustration, a personal frustration, it's a frustration for clients, is an average company will spend several $1 million entering the U.S. market. Where does that money actually go, and where does it get wasted? And I know you talked about one that's a big one, which is conferences, but we'd love to hear about other things so our listeners can maybe kind of steer away from that.
There really is so much money spent ineffectively, inefficiently in doing this, and
Right.
I think that the playbook that you hear is you get over there, you go to the big conference, you get a booth, you do some other activation, you bring 4 people, you make sure that you've hired a U.S. business lead, whoever that is, and you get going. And that doesn't work as well in insurance. So there's the money piece, and then there's the why piece, right? So and you're right, let's usually millions of dollars, and we're talking about companies that have more. Even like a smaller company coming over, let's say you've raised $4 or $5 million, right? You get a small major conference, 10-minute spot, 10 by 10 booth, getting everyone over here. You're talking at 25 direct costs just for the booth and stuff. You're talking 50, 60 grand. You raise $4 or $5 million. That's more than 1% of the total money you've raised gone in 2 days. That's probably, a month if you're a small company. So you're coming over a little bit earlier. This is probably like a month in runway and burn for you,
right,
or a small team. And the larger companies are kind of around the same scale, right? So now you're not going to spend 50 grand. You're going to spend 100, 150 because you need the bigger booth with the thing, and you need the other activation, which is either stage time or something else. Yeah. And then you're paying for travel and expenses, and you're getting badge scans. And of those, let's say, again, this is still the conference example. Let's say you get 180 badge scans, right? I'm sure you've done this before, so less than a quarter probably are from target customers. Most of them are from like vendors and consultants and like channel partners, right? And of those, probably 10% or less are going to be actual people that can make decisions. So now you've got 180 folks there, and like 5 to 8 of them are decision makers, and you paid 50 or 150 grand, depending on what level you are, to talk to those or to scan those badges, and end up with a meeting conversion rate of like 40%. So you get 3-4 meetings, and you can do the math there, but we're talking like 10, 15, 25 grand for one valuable meeting. Yeah. And this is time that your staff isn't doing more interesting things. Right.
Here's the thing about that booth Chris was just talking about. You bought it before you knew who was walking past it. 180 badge scans, maybe 5 can buy. That's not a marketing problem, it's targeting. Greater Gain Group's Buyer Clarity Sprint, 3 weeks, $7,500, named accounts, the real buying committee, security, procurement, legal, and where those buyers show up. Spend on the map before you spend on the booth. Learn more at greatergaingroup.com.
I mean, I think that's where the large part of the spend goes.
Yeah. So that's fair. And it's interesting. We're going to be doing a show just on conferences here in a couple of weeks.
Oh, that's great.
Well, because we see, I mean, even before you make any type of spend on that, we see people going to conferences where their target market really isn't even there. Somebody just told them it's going to be a great, insurance trade conference. And let's say it's all focused on life and your P&C. You've just, again, there's nobody there to do it. And so many people go, like you described, if you're going to make the investment, then you want to make sure you're walking in there with meetings with the people that you want to meet with, not just going and standing around a booth and hoping that somebody comes by, and scan. It's just, now we may be in the wrong business, Chris. Maybe we should get into the big conference business, because those guys seem to be making a lot of money.
They do make a lot of money. I can't argue with that.
And we won't name any names, but boy, I mean, some of them, just to get, a small little kiosk, now you're in the $30,000 to $40,000 range. But and again, I don't spike them. I mean, they're making money because people are spending money on it. Mm-hmm. We like to talk a lot about capital efficiency. I mean, I think the other thing that we see a lot of too is they go and hire a huge team. I'm doing some work on a book. I think this might be the first time I'm mentioning this on the podcast, Chris. That stay tuned on that. A couple months, you're going to see that come out. But I was sharing the story of a company that was coming. They weren't even really in the insurance space, but their monthly burn just on payroll coming to the U.S. was somewhere in the area of $500,000 to $600,000, and it's not that rare. I mean, they had SDRs, they had BDRs, they had reps, they had a VP of sales, they had a VP of marketing, and it's crazy. And I think one of the things you and I talked about that probably bears me is, yes, there was probably a day where you could burn through somebody else's money like that. I feel like those days are probably gone. So I think the capital efficiency is a word of the day now.
That's a good point. I was talking to a company a couple weeks ago here, and they don't have a U.S. logo yet. They have a team of 8 full-timers. And like, wow, okay. And I think they've got some good money behind them, so maybe that's okay. But that's a tough nut to crack right off the rip.
Well, it's hard to back off of that. I'm sure you have people that come to you. We have people that come to us that have been through that maybe once and failed, or maybe we had one that was twice and failed. And so I would love for people to seriously don't do that, and do that. Think about that before they go. One thing you said earlier that I want to kind of tune back into is you said it's a relationship industry, and I 100% agree with you. By the way, even in other verticals that our companies operate in, they're all highly relationship sensitive, and we've certainly established relationships don't run on conference spend. So you talked a little bit before about coming over and talking with people, but could you maybe get a little more granular on what does building those relationships actually look like in a practical sense?
This is great. This is my favorite part. So I'm a relationship guy, which is why I fit well within the industry. I love talking to people about what they're doing. I genuinely love helping those in our industry that are doing interesting things without reciprocation. That doesn't need to be there. Like we can all do well and still help each other.
Yeah.
And there's a few things that roll up into this. So I'd say that, certainly you want to be useful if you're a vendor, right? Not every conversation should be a sales conversation. You should be offering something valuable, whether that's context or introductions or whatever it may be. You should look at the people across the table from you as people and not as just logos and targets. And that's a lot easier to do as a founder versus as a salesperson, because to a salesperson, they're incentivized to see them as logos and targets. And it's okay. And the best salespeople do this really, really very well. But it's important to keep that in mind. I'd say you don't build relationships in 1 or 2 meetings. So it's very much a repetition game. And just imagine this as an example, right? So I go to tons of conferences, right? I'm at 25 events or something this year. So many that I need to cut it back. These are also smaller events, and we do dinners and things. But imagine the difference between seeing your target customer, whether that's it's probably somebody in a particular role at a carrier or large brokerage. They're busy. They get a lot of people trying to sell them things at 5 or 6 conferences a year. Shake hands, maybe get a coffee, maybe hey man, that's great. Good to see you again. Maybe we'll catch up. I got 14 minutes left and I got to run to the next thing. Or you have dinner with them 4 times a year. What does that relationship look like at the end of the year? It doesn't have to be crazy dinners, and it doesn't have to be one-on-one. But there are such better ways of building relationships, and conferences and big events are important because they help us interact with people that we don't know well. But that is not the best and the most effective way to build relationships. That is having human experiences with them versus having those others. Because let's be honest, they're managing everything around them when they're at these big events versus just being themselves in a place.
Right.
And that really is very different. So my next point has to do with that, in that you should go to where the buyer is not being sold to. Where is that? Is that a dinner? Is that a cocktail event? Is that a charity event? Is that something that their organization or something that does that you can go and help with? And don't go because you're going to try and get the sale. Go because it's worth building the relationship and pay into it. Not every one of these people is going to be your customer, but I guarantee you that, and I know we're going to talk about this a little bit more, that these relationships persist across companies and roles. And the industry isn't as big as people like to believe it is, though it's a lot of money that's moved around. And I think that the major takeaway here, right? 2 more points. One is that folks should understand that it's one single room that holds your customer, your potential acquirer, your next reference, and perhaps your next investor. that's the way the industry works. So you have to be really careful, right? The way that you're interacting with people and the way that you treat them, people are going to remember. They're going to compare notes, and they all know each other. And this is, we talk about this, Dan. This is part of the reason that we do what we do at Scout. We run tons of events. Most of them are smaller. We run conference, which is small on this, considered some of these other things, about 500 people. But it's really about how do we get folks that are working and doing interesting things in industry in places where they can have normal human conversations and build trust. Because over time, the people that you trust are going to be the ones that you do business with. It's not a 3-month transactional process. This is a long process in insurance. It's really hard to short circuit, but if you pay into it, you'll get a lot out of it.
Yeah, and Chris, I appreciate that you guys didn't just diagnose it; you actually built the answer to it. And I want, if you could, just maybe dive in a little bit more. Feel free to give a little more detail about what you do with Scout, because I'm sure that our listeners have now heard this and going, well, what is it that Scout does? So, I mean, could you maybe share? I know you're a good dude and you wouldn't be pitching us, but I'm saying I think our folks want to hear about it. So tell a little bit more about Scout.
All right, I'll give you the pitch. It is unlikely that your listeners, even those that are insurance, know that Scout, I believe, and I'll talk to my peers about this, runs more events than any other InsurTech organization in the world. The reason being is that most of it is word of mouth, and that people find out about us and get pulled into our community because of the type of people they are, not because of explicitly the job they have or the logo that job sits under. We have, as a counterpoint to the 2 and 3 day conference environment where you come in and you spend a bunch of money and you go there and everyone's, there's a lot of crazy things happening and you don't get a lot of time with people. We're running events across Midwestern and Southern and Eastern cities all year round. It's a continuous engagement platform where those folks we run a membership model, which I'll talk about in a moment here. Our member companies have the opportunity to engage with some of their target customers and logos that are part of our community as well, 4 and 5 and 6 times across the year. So rather than, I tell folks this all the time, like I travel the whole country and sometimes out of it to see the same 300 people. And it's not exactly true, but roughly and directionally it is, because of those are the ones that are making decisions across some of the biggest organizations in the country and in the world within my vertical, and the people that are looking to meet them. So at Scout, we try and bring those people in and give folks the opportunity to interact with them all year round. The reason that we run a membership model is that it's a co-commitment. If you'd like to do something with Scout, we want you to be committed for a year and not just come in and pretend this is just 2-day conference model. That's not what it is. It's becoming part of a community and buying into that community. And then my members that are most successful, what they do is they come in at some membership level that's relevant for them. And we have members that are very large carriers and brokerages and members that are 3 and 4 person startups. So it's right size for these folks. They come in and they might co-sponsor dinners or private 35, 45, 50 person events. And we do these all over the country. I've got 3 or 4 of them coming up over the next month. We love doing this. And this is how you build relationships. Those have no slide decks. They have no pitches. It doesn't feel like a timeshare presentation. It feels like a room where you can talk to and meet and engage with other people that are doing really interesting things in industry and build relationships with them. By extension, those turn into business relationships over time. That's not the explicit goal at any one of these events. And that's how we do it. And we really appreciate it. I love what I do. I get to do that all the time, and I'm very blessed to be able to.
No, and it's a tremendous model. I mean, I think in a world that is becoming more and more isolated, I think what's interesting is you've seen these type of things boomerang back into prominence. I mean, I remember when I was at IBM, this has been, way longer ago than I would care to admit. I think 23, 24 years ago. We used to do like business dinners, right? Or you do a business lunch, right? And you would go and you get to know the people. And I feel like over time that, as, marketing changed and sales changed, that went away. And now it's starting to, people kind of crave some of that, personal interaction, like getting to know them, getting to know what they like to do, rather than just, like you said, a quick hit at a conference. And I think it builds what you referenced very early on in the conversation. People that spend money, I mean, trust is the currency, right? I mean, they've got to trust, first of all, you, and then of course the solution. But and I, having called on insurance and financial services most of my career, even prior to doing what I'm doing now, you get to know people, right? And when you hit those, because you're going to hit those rough patches but with that, if you have that relationship, that's gonna really gonna pave over that. So I think that's important to love what you do. We're going to talk a little bit at the end. Chris is going to share with us how you can reach out, how you can become involved with what they're doing at Scout. So, Chris, I think we talked about how big the industry is and how small the industry is. I think we may have beat that one up good, but is there anything else you want to say? I think people come to the U.S. market because they go, hey, it's a multi-trillion-dollar, market and it's huge, but in reality it's small. And I think you talked a little bit about anything else you want to share around that?
Yeah, I mean, I give you my feeling and then just a couple quick sound bites on it. We are described as closed and slow. And there are good and bad reasons that things move slow within the insurance industry. But once you get into it, you realize that people are the same and they're moving around to companies and they remember. And once you're inside, people will go remarkably far out of their way to help you. And it is a very, it is a great place to be, really, and to be doing business. But it takes some time and effort and investment to become part of the industry. And there's good and bad reasons here. But like from a big industry feeling small perspective, it's a couple things to keep in mind. Like $3.5 trillion in premium. There's a few thousand people that make practically all the decisions. We're very capital efficient. So it's not as big as one thinks. And really, most founders are going to know most of the logos they want. I don't recommend going after the top 20 carriers right off the rip, right? That's tough. But there's some things that you shouldn't do with that because of the way the industry is and the way that we talk with each other is that your cost of a bad meeting could be really bad. So people are going to talk about that. So you should think about that. And that's a consequence, a second order effect, say, or third order effect of the industry. And a lot of times your reputation is going to arrive before you arrive. So make sure that you maintain it. And, again, because people talk. And the last thing that I really want to highlight is, and again, more of this is like a really bad meeting, a really bad first meeting with a very influential person at a large company can chase you for a long time. So you want to make sure that if you want to go talk to the biggest companies in the country, you know what they're looking for. You have a strong expectation you can meet those needs, and you have your homework done. And it's really important to do that, or you can find yourself behind a very large rock for a very long time.
Yeah, no, I all like great advice, Chris. And things. It's nice to hear from somebody else because we say that a lot to our clients. But it's just like when I say things to my kids, sometimes they don't they don't listen, but it's good to hear from somebody else that's an expert like you. So we talked a lot today about entering the U.S. market or entering the vertical. Now I want to get down to kind of the tactical approach here. So for a founder, either maybe thinking about the U.S. market or entering the insurance vertical from another space, what's maybe 2 to 3 things that you would say, do this first? Kind of give me the list of 2 or 3 things you say, hey, absolutely do this.
All right. Well, I got a couple more than that.
Okay, perfect. So we'll take as many as you'll give us, Chris.
Okay. So number 1, you got to do this first. And it's not that hard, but you got to do it. Create a target map. It's 15, 20 companies, named institution, the role that you think is going to buy from you. Innovation doesn't count. That's the role. And if the top 15, all these companies are in the top 20 carriers in whatever niche you're selling to, whether it's personal lines, commercial lines, or broadly, that's a problem. You have to have a good answer why. And it shouldn't be money, and it shouldn't be reach, and it shouldn't be buying power, and it might be that you know a guy there. That's okay. The next, you need to get some buyer interactions before you spend any dollars on presence. So that means coming over here and meeting some people and talking to them about what you do and whether they're interested, when they'd be interested, why they'd be interested. And please be aware that just because nobody else is doing what you're doing doesn't mean they're going to buy it. Like the number one reason folks don't buy is because they do nothing, not because they buy one of your competitors.
Right. Absolutely.
Then the next one is that one. Who is your champion? What is their profile? Also, who gets fired if what you do doesn't work? If you know these things, this is a good thing to know, because you're going to know who to talk to and who can help you and who you can hurt and who you need to make sure that really is on your side. Compliance and security. If you're selling in the US, do you have your SOC 2 Type 2? Are you at least under audit? Because you better be able to say that when you're in a first or second meeting with a carrier. Beyond that, you have your security questions. You know what they're going to ask. Are you using AI? I think you are. You raise money, right? You're probably using AI. Do you have? Are you prepared to answer model governance questions and data governance questions and data locality and geography questions? There's a bunch here, but it's not like rocket science. You can find these questionnaires out there. You should pre-fill some of them so you have the answers. It makes it very easy. That's the main stuff. I would say focus on a segment too, right? Like, I'm entering the U.S. insurance market is a very bad segment. Like, that's not great. Like, what part? Is it life? Is it P&C? Is it Midwest Mutuals? Is it reinsurance? Is it MGAs? Is it agency? Are you selling to retailers, large brokerages, program administrators? Like, you should know what all those are and know why they are or why they are not your customer. They might not be mutually exclusive, but you should have an answer. And the last thing, if you don't know all these things, you need to make a real decision to enter or not, because going faster is going to be very, very expensive if you don't have these answers down, and ultimately it's not going to serve you. And really, like, Dan, this is like, I don't know, 2 weeks of homework for a founder, and, you know, with Claude, and it's not that much outside of the actual conversations, which you should do in person if you can do that. But I don't see it done.
Yeah, no, you're exactly right. I mean, we echo a lot of the things that you say, and we actually help some of our clients with that, because some of them, especially if they're sometimes a technical founder, it's a little bit of a foreign world to them. But that's super great advice. We'll make sure that we put that in the show notes as well, because that's probably a great place to kind of land the episode here. I feel like we probably had enough, Chris, that could have gone for 2 or 3, but we kind of boiled it in. But first of all, I hope that you'll pick up the phone when I reach out again and come back, because I think there's certainly some other things that we'd love to have you talk about. So, what's to close? What's the best way for folks to get in touch with you or with Scout?
Yeah, perfect. So, a couple options. You can always reach out to me on LinkedIn. It's very easy, and I'll be easy to find. I have a lot of hot takes on LinkedIn, so enjoy if you like them, and if you don't, then maybe I don't know. See if you want to talk to me or not. And the other good way to do it, I'm just Chris at Scout InsurTech. If you are looking to enter the U.S. market, I've got a little self-assessment that I'd be more than happy to share with folks, so we can put that in the show notes too. And
Excellent.
feel free to reach out. And I'm going to be all over the place in fall. So Dan, I don't know when exactly this is going to run, but like, I've got 13 events over the next 65 days. So if you're somewhere, reach out and maybe I can buy you a beer.
Yeah, no, so we will. This should be airing in August, because I'm the same way, Chris. I don't have as many events as you do. I was thinking before I got on here, I want to do more events next year. But when you described how many you did, I'm thinking, I don't know that I want to do that many. So
maybe too many.
You got to figure that one out. But thank you so much, Chris, for joining us. Thank you for the offering the self-assessment. I think that would be great, and I'd really encourage our listeners, if you're entering the U.S. market, going into insurance from somewhere else, that you reach out to Chris. He can be a pivotal part of your game plan. And Chris, thanks for joining. We'll look forward to seeing you maybe at one of these events, and we'll look forward to seeing all of you back next week on the Seriously Don't Do That podcast.
Thanks, Dan.